Hi, everybody. So, I have a brand new series starting up with some of my very favorite YouTubers. And I'm super excited to get started on this. So, we are doing, as most of you know, Caitlin, Clary, and I have had for the past year done a series. Actually, I think we've done it for more than a year. A series called Card Making for Scrapbookers. We've really enjoyed doing it, and we decided that for this year, starting in January, we would switch it up and we would do a series called Stamping for Scrapbookers. So every month has a theme. So this month's theme, for example, is food. So we have food stamps. Every month has a theme, and we invited two new Scrapbookers YouTubers to join us, Christina Sorge and Sandy Reversky, who is State Goddess on YouTube, and I will leave their links down below for their YouTube channels along with Caitlin's. So yes, we're going to do one video a month. It'll probably be the last Thursday of every month. We're going to have a theme of the type of stamps we're going to use. So you can look forward to that at the end of every month, and you'll be given 4 videos with 4 techniques and 4 ideas to use your stamps on your scrapbook pages. So I have my products here together. So for January, our stamp theme was food. I chose 2 stamps. This is a stamp from Spellbinders, and this is a stamp from Close to My Heart. And I'm going to do some of each of these stamps. I'm not sure exactly, how much or yes, things like that. But I'm going to do the lemons, right? So we have some lemons and some ice cubes and lemons and ice cubes. And I like this saying that says freshly squeezed lemonade. That could be a fun title. Okay, and these are going to be my photos. So they are of, in fact, my oldest son making lemonade. He went through I taught him how to make lemonade, and then he went through I don't know what you call it, a period of time where he was constantly making lemonade. There is a word for it. There's a word to encompass that, but I can't remember what it is. So he was making lemonade all the time, and so I took a picture of him making lemonade and how I taught him to make lemonade, and then he was just off and running with the lemonade. I have white scrap paper here because I haven't quite decided how I'm going to do my lemons. I might do like paper piecing, or I might just stamp them and color them. I don't know what I'm doing with them, but something with the lemons, and I know I'm going to need to stamp them to get some dimension onto my scrapbook page. So cardstock to stamp. Permanent black, Alt-New crisp ink. This page is going to be an 8.5 by 11 page, so I have 2 accent papers. I'm going to try to stick to this like black and white and yellow and maybe a little green for my page, and that's it. And then a sheet of white cardstock as the background or the base of my layout, and then the 2 patterns to go with it. And all of my other embellishments are going to come from the stamping. And then I also have my Alt-New inks. I pulled this case out because this case has all my yellows and all my greens, and so I can mix and match the colors for some fun embellishments. I might pull out my Nuvo Morning Dewdrops. I might pull out a glitter pen. I'm definitely pulling out some foam adhesive. And I don't know if I'm going to color some of my lemons with alcohol markers or Tombow markers, or if I'm going to just stamp everything. I haven't decided all that yet, but these are the products that I've pulled together, and I'm going to go ahead and get started on this layout and see where it takes me. So by the end of the year, you're going to get really tired of hearing me say this, but when you want to stamp on a scrapbook page, the best thing to do is to start with your stamping. Get your stamp supplies out, get all your stamping done, and almost view it like 2 kind of separate little projects. Does that make sense? So I'm going to start with all of my stamping and all of my embellishments. And I am going to use each of these little scraps of white paper, white cardstock. They're offcuts. I can stamp a ton of stuff on them because these images aren't large, and I can just get going. So I'm going to stamp ice cubes, and I'm going to stamp these lemon slices onto my paper, and then I want to zhuzh them up a little bit, right? I don't want them to look like flat images when I create my layout. I want them to look like embellishments, right? Okay, so I'm going to start by getting a blending brush and just ink blending over the lemons. Okay, this is going to give them this fun little inky look, and it's going to get them colored in without having to use any kind of special markers or anything like that to color them in, right? We're just using an ink blending tool, a little bit of yellow ink, done. Now, this is where my life gets a little crazy. So I bumped my camera and then I left it there. I don't know why I left it there. I don't even think I knew that I left it, that it was still there. But I want to add some more dimension to these ice cubes. So I'm going to grab some glossy accents. I'm going to completely cover the ice cubes with glossy accents. These take a long time to dry, which is why I did the ice cubes first. So I'm covering them up with glossy accents. I stamped them in just a gray ink color. I'm going to totally cover them in glossy accents, blah, 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 and set them aside to dry. The next element I'm working on is my mason jar. I know I want to make this a really cool aspect of my layout. So I'm going to stamp it twice. This gives me a really nice, crisp, clean image. And because I'm stamping it twice, I'm pulling out the ginormous Misty. So I don't always use my Misty exactly the way it's made to be used. I don't always put my stamp onto the door. Sometimes, if I'm using a small stamp, I will break out my acrylic blocks and just use the Misty to hold my paper in place. And I find both of these things to be a really great way to use this tool. I really don't view it as just a stamping tool that I use for when I want to stamp things more than once. I use it to figure out placement. I use it just to hold my paper in place. Well, I then use an acrylic block for small stamping. So, but I love my ginormous Misty. I would recommend it to everybody. If you're a scrapbooker that wants to do a lot of stamping, this is a really great tool to have. Okay, I'm going to do my straw next, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to stamp it twice so I get a crisp, clean, clear image. Really nice and crisp for the straw and the jar. I'm stamping more lemons, and again, because I wanted these images to really, these are the lemon images that are like filled in, so I wanted to get them just crisp, clean, and clear. I'm going to do my title piece now. I'm going to use this freshly squeezed lemonade. I'm going to actually use the Door of the Misty for this one. And all of these little scraps of paper that I'm stamping all over, I'm just putting them off to the side. The reason I'm putting them off to the side is because I'm going to come back in and fussy cut them all. Right? So when I want to stamp on a scrapbook page and I want to stamp a lot, I do all the stamping first, and then I do all the fussy cutting, and then I come through and I do putting my layout together. And putting the layout together ends up being like the quickest part because you have all these embellishments ready to go. Off camera, I also stamped some leaves and colored them in the same way, not with alcohol markers, not any kind of hard coloring. My smallest life-changing brush, a little ink, and then what you do is you stamp the first image crisply and then just go over a little bit with the blending brush like you saw me do with the lemons earlier, and you're going to see me do that again. So this is going to be my title piece, and I'm going to end up die cutting it with a stitched square and adding some lines underneath for my journaling. There were some things I definitely had to cut out of this video because otherwise it would have been crazy long. But there are some parts I wanted to show you, and this is one of them. So as you can see here, I have stamped these little lemons in green on the scrap white paper. Now I'm going to stamp them again onto my pattern paper here. And I'm just doing it in the green. It doesn't matter what I stamp them in because what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to fussy cut out just the lemon part of the stamp and kind of paper piece it in. So I'm going to finish up fussy cutting this lemon. I'm going to do all the lemons off camera. And then I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive. I'm going to line them up and add the little lemon on top of the white lemons. So now we have yellow lemons. And then I'm going to take that blending brush, and again, I'm just going with a one shade lighter green and blending the green, one green over the other green. And now by the magic of YouTube, we're all done. So I have all of my fussy cut pieces cut. I've pulled in 2 flare and some sequins, and the rest of my layout, guys, is going to be stamping and paper. And I seriously think this is one of my most favorite layouts that I've created this year. I'm sorry if you can hear my dog barking. The UPS man is here, and the UPS man must be barked at. Ugh. And he's... Oh dear, they're all gonna bark. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to go ahead and map my photos. Sorry about the dogs. In their defense, the UPS man was bringing a 40-pound bag of dog food. So, yeah. I don't like to buy dog food, so I buy dog food in, like, massive bags. And in case you're wondering, my dogs eat Blue Buffalo food, and they love it. It's fabulous. So, I am matting my photos, both my photos, together with this black and white paper, just to give it a bit of, dimension or contrast, right? And then off camera, I went ahead and trimmed down all of my papers here. Now, in case you haven't noticed yet, my camera is still crooked, and I still haven't figured it out that my camera is crooked. So, we will not have crooked camera next time, I promise. And I was watching reruns of ER while I scrapbooked, because let's face it, reruns of ER do not require any thought. You can just listen, and you've already seen it. If you're me, you've already seen them all. You know what happens next. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add this yellow across the middle of my layout. Then I'm going to add the black of my matted photos, and then I trimmed some 1/4 inch strips, just real thin skinny strips, and I'm going to use those at the top and the bottom of the layout to kind of frame in my layout. And then we're going to add all of these super duper cute stamped elements. I decided that I really, really want to use this mason jar at the bottom and then put my title with the journaling at the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, my smallest blending. Okay, so I'm going to take my smallest blending brush, and I'm going to take yellow ink, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ink up what would be like the inside of the mason jar. And then I'm going to cut a slit into the top of the mason jar and pop the straw in, so it looks like the straw is down in the mason jar and that there's lemonade in the mason jar. And how stinking cute does that look? A little more ink, so it does look like that straw goes down into the lemonade. So I'm going to place the mason jar right there on that part of my layout. I'm going to add in my ice cubes that have now dried and are nice and glossy. And then I'm going to just start layering in all of my embellishments. So I have the flare there, I've got all the tiny lemons all across the bottom of the page. And now I'm going to work on that top piece. And again, I'm going to do the same thing as I did on the bottom, just kind of layering in those lemons. I'm adding some up on pop dots, and some are going to be flat, so they kind of layer in. But I love this because I stamped so many of those lemons and leaves and things that I could really kind of bulk up. They don't look as big, or they don't look as small as they may have appeared while I was stamping them, now that we've gotten them and they're all really kind of clustered in together so nicely. And then I have done my journaling, and I have my my journaling. Oh, what's that called? The date. I have dated the layout. Oh my word. This has been a crazy, wild day at my house, you guys. Like, it's like a circus time here. I don't know what's... This is my circus, and these are my monkeys. Anyway, I'm adding these flare. I've been trying to use up some of my metal flare stash. I have so much metal flare. It's not even funny. And so I've been trying to like pull out specific flares every time I create a layout so that I have like a specific flare to grab. I'd love to use epoxy flare on everything, but I really feel like I need to get some of my metal flares used up and out of my stash. So I grabbed this really, really, really cute sequin mix. And I am pulling, this is an older mix, so it's not available in the stores, in the Spiegel Mom Scrap store, I'm sorry. But I'm just pulling these yellow because this tone of yellow that's in this mix is perfection for this layout. So I'm going to sprinkle sequins all around, and then we are going to call this one done. Thank you so much for joining me today. Be sure to head over and check out Christina and Sandy and Caitlin's videos for some more amazing stamping ideas. And we will see you back next month with a new stamping theme and some new tricks, tips, and projects. Bye, guys.